Good day, guys, and welcome back to your English Aussie. Today we're going to run through the game week night and results and also some team observations and thoughts on how the teams played this week. Later in the week, we'll look at some transfer plans and we'll talk through today some of the players that maybe you'll look to go into for game week 10. This week was a crazy week with lots of high scoring points. We'll pull up on screen how my team did in game week 9. We got a green arrow, which prior to the Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea games um, this morning or last night for you guys was about nine. We were up 900k. We were up to 900k rank, and I think it's probably to do with Palmer and maybe Henderson as well, who we didn't have, that bumped us back down again this morning. Just goes to show how tight the ranks are around that sort of maybe 800k to 1.5 mil. There's probably only like 10 points easily in between those numbers. So one good game week could really turn your fortunes around. But all in all, very happy with the week so far. 62 points. The double City defence finally coming in clutch. Erling Haaland returning up front. And my transfers this week was Saka out to Salah and Trent out for Porro. Saka got 9 points and Trent got 1 point. So really like a 2 point gain for me making those transfers. The one mistake maybe we'd talk about is maybe Porro could have been an 8 Nuri. That was sort of the choice for the defender. I went based off what I'd seen from Spurs going forwards and the positions that Porro was getting into. And they were really disappointing against Crystal Palace actually, with that 1-0 loss. But yeah, I think all in all, good game week. Happy with the results. Some of the differentials maybe could have picked up a few more points for me, but generally, I think my team's in good shape. There will be a few changes I am looking to make over the next 2-3 game weeks to try and switch up the structure of the team, which I have discussed previously. I am probably going to be looking to sub Haaland out and bring in Palmer and Saka. Each week without Palmer does sort of, you struggle to watch those games because he's so influential for Chelsea. He really is fantastic over that period of time. And yeah, he just looks like a really good player for them going forwards. And he's someone that you probably don't really want to go without in these game weeks. He's just been looking so good for them. Yeah, so we will go through some of the team observations through the games this game week and talk through how we think some of the teams set up, what their issues are going forwards, and therefore which players we want to go for looking forwards towards game week 10. And I think this is a time where, again, there's going to be a lot of differences in teams, and you're going to see some larger rank swings over the next few weeks because it's not captaincy is not as clear cut, team selections not as clear cut, and the differences between the premiums that you own and the structure of the team is really going to differ between managers. So it's going to be a really interesting couple of game weeks now, and then really interesting to see what people do from game week 12 and 13 and going forwards. So yeah, let's jump into the team observations. Moving on to our team observations. Man City Southampton started off with, as we discussed last week, I thought Southampton would play 5 at the back and Mark Haaland, similar to the other teams have been doing. Unfortunately for them, City scored almost straight away, 5 minutes in. Haaland somehow managing to get on the end of one. I think you're seeing the same things again from Man City this week. Like, yes, there are a few more chances created, but Southampton are a far lesser defensive side than sides they've played in previous weeks. Plus, they just really weren't used to the system they were playing in, and they didn't quite always make it work. I think they're definitely still a team to target from an attacking perspective. Obviously, Haaland had uh, almost like 3 expected goals in that game, and quite a few uh, really big chances that it's just surprising, like the way he's been finishing this season, that he didn't manage to put them in the back of the net. Um, yeah, similar points to last week, really. No De Bruyne has really meant a lot less precision for City. I did think Savinho was really good in this game. He was taking on players, putting in balls into the box. I thought he was really good. Obviously, Nunez with a really good assist as well. Um, and I'm still, like Man City finally kept a clean sheet. I mean, still don't look amazing at the back, but the fact that they just have so much possession means they're obviously going to concede less um, defensive chances. And I think that Guardiola Lewis double up, I mean, finally paid off this week for my team. But I still think it's a really good value given that clean sheets again still so difficult to predict. And also, I mean, Guardiola's just should be a lock with the attacking positions that he gets into. There is some potential for rotation. I mean, there always is with Pep. I think he's also come out and said Guardiola can't play every 3 days. I mean, Rico Lewis, I think, is probably going to play every week. I think Carl Walker's not actually injured, but just out for personal reasons. You guys can look into what's been going on with him. I won't rumor spread. But yeah, I think Guardiola potentially is going to be rotated if there's some midweek Champions League games. Next week, that isn't the case. I expect him and Lewis both to start. Expect you can never tell with Pep, but that would be my assumption. Everton v Fulham. DCL still an awful finisher, but that Beto goal that he scored late on for Everton means that now he also might not be locked on for 90 minutes. So he's just sort of going down in my estimations as a player to look for. Mcneil still looked good. Did look like he picked up a knock during the game. Hopefully not serious. I think a lot of people transferred him in. Everton have got a good fixture run coming up, or not even coming up anymore. It's currently going on. But they just don't have a lot of good options in players. I think I think Sean Dyche is obviously like a really good defensive coach, and that shouldn't be underestimated. And they have some chance in defence. I think the only person I'd really go for is a Mykolenko, just for the cheap price. But yeah, they just haven't been a great team. They give the ball away far too easily. I'm seeing them being put under pressure and pressure by Fulham. They then get the ball. Tarkowski's then hitting crossfield, diagonal, long passes to Calvert-Lewin. You're just never going to win that ball, giving away possession, and then Fulham are coming straight back at them. It's just causing them a lot of problems, like their inability to just slow the pace of the game down, pass the ball around, keep possession of the game, and really like slow the momentum of the opposition teams. I think they've just struggled with. Fulham, on the other hand, still looking really great. I'm really optimistic on Fulham. I think Jimenez has looked fantastic up front. Emil Smith Rowe has been getting into good positions again in this game. Only person I've probably slightly soured on is Adama Traore. I think like if you look at the stats, and this is why you can't always look at like expected goals and assists to make your decisions. He puts up really good numbers every game, but he's got terrible finishing. And actually, when you watch him play, there's just it almost feels like there's a lack of urgency, or at least there was this game week against Everton. Felt like there was a lack of urgency for him to be getting in the box and trying to get on the end of chances, especially like when the ball's on the opposite wing to him. It just sort of you can see him trailing behind the ball a little bit. I think someone needs to work with him as to his sort of attacking instincts are just almost not there for scoring goals. I do think he's a player capable of this. I just think he's not quite showing what he's capable of lately for Fulham. West Ham v Man United. Still thought Garnacho looked good for United. I still think he's probably their best attacking option. I know I'm always sour on Bruno, but he was slightly close to getting some returns this week, but as usual, blanked. And in United defence, Diego Dalot, oh man, not quite sure how he missed that chance. But that would have been a big score for some of the people that are the United owners at the moment. I still think their defence is not terrible, but it really does depend on what Man United turn up on any given day, which has been really up and down lately. West Ham, for me, still looking poor, still giving the ball away too frequently. Just defensively, very average. Going forwards, I think Bowen looked great. He's still looking excellent in all of the games, and I thought Somerville looked fantastic. I think he was playing really well for West Ham. It'd be really interesting to see when Kudus comes back if they could play Bowen on the right, Somerville on the left, and Kudus in cam. I think that would be a really interesting lineup, and probably the way to get Paqueta out of the team because he's been giving the ball away miserably for West Ham a few times. I still think, West Ham's look still very leaky at the back, and will probably still remain a team for me to target going forwards for attacking fixtures. Moving on, Forest Leicester. Forest and Nuno are sensational, really. Nuno's just got that team playing so organised, structured, and with a real purpose. You can see from all of their play has a purpose. Even from the way they're defending, they have a purpose. They push up so high on the opposition. He's playing basically like a 4 up front in that press when they're defending so high, and they're really making it hard for teams to pass their way out of the back against Forest. And then as soon as that happens, and as soon as they get out of there, all their guys get behind the ball, and they really make it hard to be broken down. Still counter-attacking very fast, looking to get those progressive carries and move up the field. And everything's ending in Chris Wood at the moment. And really, I feel like if you don't have Chris Wood, you're probably still not going to buy Chris Wood. But yeah, he just looks a really fantastic option. And I think if we look at Forest's fixtures coming up, they've got West Ham, Newcastle, Arsenal, Ipswich in the next 4. Like 2 of those 4 games are really good games from an attacking lineup. And then you got Man City, Man United, Villa, and Brentford. Again, probably not that easy. After that, the fixtures turn a little bit for Forest. From 19 onwards, they've got a really nice run of fixtures for 6 or so games: Everton, Wolves, Liverpool, Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham, which is really nice until game week 25. So something to consider there. I think like the way they defend has been really organised, and some of the defenders are still like really good options because they also press high up the pitch, and if they can win the ball back and put crosses into the box for Wood, they've got a chance of picking up some attacking returns. Both Aina Moreno also sells are people that I would consider going forwards, and those cheap price options, similar to the Wolves defence. I would definitely consider Forest because they also have that potential clean sheet. Villa v Bournemouth was obviously a disappointing result from Aston Villa. You do feel that they don't quite play the same after those Champions League weeks. I thought they were better than they were against Man United in week 7. But they just weren't quite sharp enough across the whole team. I thought Watkins looked good, but again, he was rested in midweek in that Champions League game. Only played, I think, maybe 30 minutes. So he was still looking sharp. Still looks like the talisman for Villa. I think still is probably an underrated option up front. I think once you look at if you don't have a Haaland, I think Watkins is like a must-have up front. Him and Nicholas Jackson are probably two of the higher priced strikers at the moment. Look really good. Bournemouth, on the other hand, playing away from home, their press is a little bit less effective. They struggle on some of the bigger pitches, and I feel like it's almost been completely different to when they have been playing at home. When they have been playing at home, they've been a much better team. They've got wins against Arsenal. They've got wins against Southampton. And they just looked like a different beast when they are playing at home to when they're playing away from home. So interesting to see how they go next week against City at home, and whether they continue to press high up the field against them. I think that could be a game where City could score a few goals, to be honest. Brentford's v Ipswich, Wissa back in the team. And I've just got to say about Wissa that his movement is the best thing. Like, he is just exceptionally smart. And I think you saw it last season, even with Tony in the team, that Wissa would pop up in those positions and he'd score a lot of crucial goals, a lot of late and crucial goals for Brentford, just because his footballing IQ is so high. And you hear that spoken about a lot in maybe in basketball rather so much than football, but there are some players that you can see that just have incredible football IQ. Wissa is one of them. He just knows how to get in the right positions in the right time. It's almost similar to like a very ridiculous comparison, but similar to like a Ruud van Nistelrooy, who would just find his way into the correct positions all the time and score those goals. Another person I think has great football IQ, Cole Palmer. Like the way he is playing, and maybe we'll get onto it and we'll talk a bit more about it. But he picked up some great positions in that Chelsea game. Yeah, Buemo, a little bit lucky with his returns. Obviously, one penalty and the cross that sort of just ended up in the net. But again, like you can't go away from him as being a good option. They've got good fixtures. He takes penalties. He's on some set pieces, and he's playing in an attacking role as a winger for Brentford, who are scoring goals. So yeah, I think at that price point, he's just a good pick because of the various ways he can get points for you. Ipswich again look like a team that just you got to target from an attacking perspective, conceding goals after goals after goals. Hurst looked good up front for them. Came in, scored his first goal in one of the first game. This is his first game back post injury. Delap still also looks good, but I don't see Ipswich creating those chances. A lot of chances. I mean Brentford are not a very particularly good defensive side, and they did obviously score 3 goals against them, but I don't see any of their attacking options being people that you'd want to go with. I would have said Delap as like maybe an exception, but now that Hurst is coming back and taking those minutes as well, I just don't think it's worth going anywhere into that Ipswich attack. Same for their defence. Too many goals conceded. You can see with Davis this week, he got an assist, but they conceded 4 goals, so he still only ends up with 2 points. Yeah, for me, not worth going into any of their players. I think so Chelsea Newcastle, I'd say Palmer looks in incredible form. And as I was discussing, he has if just an amazing footballing IQ, and he just knows what positions he needs to be in. He dropped a little bit deeper to pick up some of the balls today. He dropped in between those lines for Newcastle. Newcastle were giving huge amounts of space in between their defensive and midfield lines, and that was just allowing Palmer to just sit in there, collect the ball, play on the half turn, and he was really sensational there. The pass that he made to Pedro Neto, where he came deep, picked up the ball, hit a curling ball around the defense, uh, and then Neto just squared it for the goal. Was just incredible. And I think, yeah, like Palmer and Jackson are two people that I'd love to have in my team. I mean, I don't have either of them right now. I think they're both really good options. I think Chelsea are looking better and better each game week as we go on. I think they were looking a little bit shaky at the beginning of the season, but now, um, yeah, they're really looking better and better team every week. From game week 12, I wouldn't want to see anybody without Palmer. I think he's just going to be a magnificent asset. Newcastle, on the other hand, obviously Gordon had a knock or a niggle and wasn't playing, um, and just felt like they just didn't set up very well. They didn't really. It felt like Eddie Howe didn't get his tactics right against Chelsea and just allowed their players space and time on the ball, just completely opposite of the way that they played against City, where they really transitioned between that sort of 4-5-1, 5-4-1 setups. I'm not very big on Newcastle going forwards. They do have some good fixtures coming up from 12 onwards, but really they just look like a team that don't have an identity at the moment. They're not really sure the style of play that they're playing in. Things are changing week on week, and they're just not really. There's not. They don't feel like a cohesive unit that are playing together. So I'd probably steer clear of Newcastle going forwards. I think that Arsenal against them next week are going to cause them a lot of problems. And again, those of you that held on to Saka are probably licking your lips at that matchup next week. Going on to Arsenal, obviously the big news, Saka played. I don't think anybody expected that to be the case. And of course, Arteta is just a liar in general. Will never tell us any news that's useful. But I mean, I didn't expect him to play. He wasn't even on the bench midweek in the Champions League game. And, yeah, remarkable that he managed to come in and be fit for the game. Obviously, he came off a little bit early, so suggestions are he's not quite fully fit. Came off after 84 minutes. But he is such an important player for Arsenal, and you can see when that offense is going, the ball goes through Saka. At the beginning of the season, he was one of the two people that I think were the most important players for me to have in the team, and probably from game week 13 onwards, it's going to be the same when Arsenal run into that great run of fixtures. Liverpool, on the other hand, I did say they'd concede a goal from a set piece. They did do that. They did also score a goal from a set piece. So, yeah, it felt like they just weren't. They didn't have the cutting edge that they've had in previous years. And it does feel like those central midfielders are not quite finding the sort of decisive passes that are needed for Liverpool to break down some of these teams and score in the fashion that they would do in prior seasons. Trent played a really nice ball for Darwin to set up Salah for that final goal, and also a nice corner and delivery for Liverpool's first goal. But aside from that, I think they really struggled to create too many chances in the game. And part of that, obviously, down to Arsenal being a good team, but also I just feel like there's just a bit less dynamism in that midfield for Liverpool this year than prior years. Also, Trent's getting on the ball less than he used to. I think he's like popping up in those key positions far less under slot. And that's also contributing to, I think, Liverpool's sort of less creative as a team. However, I think that has shored them up at the back slightly. Obviously, the goals they conceded was just great play from Saka. Like Robbo was unlucky, megsed him on the way back, and then great finish, and then the corner. Yeah, just got to deal with that, I think. But yeah, otherwise, I think those are my shout outs from game week 9. Pretty good game week from myself this week. Really happy with that. 62 points and up to 1.4 million in the world. If you did like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. It will really help. Hopefully, the subscribe button popping up at some point. Really help this channel grow if you like this content, and hopefully I can produce some more good stuff for you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great week. I'll be back later in the week with a few more videos on player analysis and transfer plans for game week 10, and possibly a live stream from Japan this week. So yeah, look out for that, and have a great week, guys. Thanks very much.